So, Dan, Synthos FA and Intensify, like we've said, are really those two new products. And Excito has been around a lot longer than that. These products have undergone extensive testing both before and after release to growers. I know they're kind of on the cutting edge of technology, but it's not like we just put them out there without really doing the development that they needed. So could we talk a little bit about some of the on-farm results that our customers and farmers have been seeing? Maybe a little bit of the development behind products like Intensify, some of the research that was done prior to release of the product.
Right, sure. Well, and I guess one thing I do want to talk about in regard to Synthos, as you were talking about that, I think we need to keep in mind that Synthos, being a liquid sugar, is going to be of a thicker product. And so depending upon where we're storing it, when I think of thicker sugar products, I'm going to think of like molasses. And so one of the things that we need to keep in mind is how are we storing it? Because if we're pulling it out of a storage facility that's at, 45, 50, 55 degrees, we may need to set it out in the sun to let some heat get into it, to thin it up a little bit to make it easier to pump and flow, because it is a sugar. And similar to like honey, for example, which may even be a better example, the colder it gets, the more sugary it can get and crystallize. And so, but when we heat that back up, it's going to go back into solution. So I just want to mention to everyone that, and I think this year, Isaiah, I don't know if you have, I've received a couple of calls, a few calls, maybe 3, 4, 5 calls from individuals that were having some challenges. And I think a lot of that was just due to the Synthos being cold and needed to get some heat into it to allow it to pump and allow it to flow. So I did want to touch on that very briefly. But yeah, thank you, Isaiah. When we start to look at some of the results that we've been seeing, when we start to look at specifically with Excito being around since 1990, some of the results that we've been seeing with foliar Excito is an average of over a 10 bushel increase on corn. And on soybeans with the foliar Excito, we're seeing nearly a 4 bushel advantage on soybeans. So tremendous results there. On the soil Excito product, on corn, we're seeing over an 8 bushel per acre response compared to no soil Excito. And on soybeans, we're looking at a little over a 3.5 bushel response with the Excito product. So just seeing some tremendous results with those products, and they're easy to use products. On the newer products, on the Intensify, which we've got data from 2018 and 19, and when we average that together on corn, we're seeing a nearly 6 bushel per acre advantage. When we look at that, the price on that is very well justified. We're getting an extremely great return on investment for the Intensify, for the Synthos, for the Excito products. So with that nearly 6 bushel advantage on corn, and on soybeans, we're looking at nearly a 4 bushel advantage compared to no Intensify on the soybeans in, again, both 18 and 19. So some tremendous results there. When we look at the Synthos FA product on corn, there for the previous 2 growing seasons, we've seen nearly a 3 bushel per acre advantage where Synthos was used compared to not being used. And on soybeans, a 1.7 bushel per acre advantage. But the biggest thing we're hearing from growers is it is so much easier to use. They don't have to go to Walmart, to Costco, Sam's Club, buy the granulated sugar and try to dissolve it in hot water. This is a very liquid product. Once you get it warm, you don't have to get it hot. I don't want to put that fear into everyone's mind or anyone's mind, but it is something that flows readily. It does mix very easily with water, with the feed starter fertilizers, with other fertilizers that you may use it. And to me, on the Synthos FA, there's probably one wrong way to use that. And while we don't want to focus on that, I do want to bring it up so that it doesn't get used in that manner. And so if we're side dressing our nitrogen and utilizing a product like Guardian L, which is going to basically block the enzyme that converts the ammonium nitrogen into nitrate nitrogen, we don't want to add sugar in there because, as Isaiah talked about, the sugars are going to feed the bacteria, feed the soil, get higher numbers. So we're kind of counteracting what we're doing with the Guardian. So that would be the one place that I would suggest and recommend not using the Synthos product. If we were to look at some of the other results, like Excito has been used in some of the VEX Practical Farm research trials over the years. And on soybeans there for foliar Excito, a 2-year trial is showing a $6 return on investment with the foliar Excito. So seeing some excellent results with that product. So Isaiah, what have you heard from various growers?
Well, I guess just a couple things I want to add to that. I mean, specifically with Excito, I know we talked about, we're hovering around that 4 bushel an acre yield benefit when using Excito, specifically the soil Excito. But something to note is that when you have a soybean cyst nematode infestation, because we have seen results in Excito kind of helping the plant to defend itself from nematode infestations, if you have a worst case scenario, if you have a nematode infection, you can expect better yield increases from that. You're kind of in that situation, having that worst case scenario and allowing the Excito to really show that best benefit when it comes to defending itself from nematodes. So just do want to say that we've seen really great results as a nematode suppressant. It's not necessarily an insecticide. It doesn't kill the nematodes, but it basically helps the plant hype up that immune system. A healthier plant is going to help defend itself from that infection and infestation. Another thing, too, that I just want to note with these products and the data that we have is that these all came from very large data sets, specifically Intensify. We had, some of you all might know that are on the call or listening in on the call, a rebate program where our growers could submit data that they saw from untreated and treated sections in their fields using our product Intensify. So we've done that for the past 2 years, have gotten hundreds of results from hundreds of different field plots throughout the country from several different crop types. So, I don't consider myself a statistician, but whenever you have a larger data set from different areas and different growing environments, that really allows you to have a pretty strong confidence that the data that you're getting back is representative of something that you might see across several different exposures, across several different soil types, weather conditions, different crops. So it's very impressive, the data that we've been able to collect for Intensify, and I think it really tells the benefits and the potential that you could see using products like that. But there's a ton of testimonial evidence as well. We've had guys send us lots of pictures from things that they've seen using Intensify or Synthos in a starter fertilizer. For instance, there's a photo that we got from a farmer in Indiana showing a corn seedling at that V1, V2 stage. So at those very early growth stages where root growth is critical. And, a lot of these yield champions and a lot of agronomists say that we want about a 3-to-1 root to leaf ratio in those early stages. Some of them say 2-to-1. In that picture that we got from this Indiana grower, the root was penetrating down almost 9 inches into the soil at about a V1, V2. So that was about a 4-to-1 ratio of root growth to leaf growth, just really showing that not only is that product Intensify maybe helping that radicle or that first root emerge out of that seedling and just get that process going a little bit quicker, or just making that process grow at a faster rate. Not only is it starting it quicker, starting that breaking of dormancy in the seed, but helping that seed get through those first few stresses it has until it emerges from the soil and has access to sunlight and photosynthesis.
Oh, you bet. And what about